Joins us now. He was watching all of that. Can you just listen to General Keane? He was on just a little bit ago talking about what he thinks America should do about that site Gillian mentioned of Fort Dow.
Fort Dow is the center of gravity because here's what's really going on in the Ayatollah's mind, I think. He never came to the negotiating table to really give up his nuclear capability voluntarily. And he's counting on the fact that Fort Dow will survive this. It is in the United States' core national interest to help Israel destroy completely this nuclear enterprise. And Fort Dow sits out there as a potential target that Israeli is challenged by.
Do you agree with General Keane?
Yeah, Dana, as usual, General Keane is right. Fort Dow really is the center of gravity of Iran's nuclear program. It would be a disappointing and inconclusive outcome to this campaign if Iran retained the ability to enrich uranium at Fort Dow or a few other key sites as well. That's been President Trump's main objective now for months, is to get Iran out of the uranium enrichment business. So we really have to wait and see what's going to unfold in the days ahead with Israel. But it's not just in Israel's interest. As President Trump has said time and again, it's in our interest and the interest of peace and stability for the world that Iran have no ability to enrich uranium, which puts them on the path to nuclear weapons.
Iran might be starting to cry uncle. This just in on the wires that Iran has asked Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Oman to ask President Trump to get Israel to agree to an immediate ceasefire. That's according to 3 regional sources that said that to Reuters. But as General Keane was saying, and I'm curious what you think the United States Senate would say about this, if they were to have a ceasefire now, but Fort Dow remains, was it an unsuccessful mission?
Well, if that were the case, Dana, if you had a ceasefire with Fort Dow intact, with Iran's ability to enrich uranium intact, yes, that would be an inconclusive outcome that would continue to threaten the United States and our friends in the region. But if, say, Iran, now understanding that America and Israel mean business, is willing to come to the table, as President Trump ask them to, for 60 days and say, we'll turn over our enrichment capabilities. We'll open up the doors at Fort Dow and allow you to remove it. And that we will, in fact, sue for peace because of the damage that Israel has inflicted on Iran over the last 4 days. That would be a horse of a different color. That would be closing Fort Dow, closing it voluntarily by the Ayatollahs. But if Fort Dow or any other key uranium enrichment site remains intact after this campaign, it would be an inconclusive outcome.
I wonder what you think about this, because we just reported also at the top of the hour that Putin has said, hey, look, I can help. Let me play the peacemaker here. President Trump said to ABC News yesterday, I would be open to it. Putin is ready. He called me about it. We had a long talk about it. We talked about this more than his situation. This is something I believe is going to get resolved. What do you think about Putin playing a role here?
Well, I don't think Vladimir Putin, in the middle of his own war in Ukraine, is going to intervene to try to stop this conflict between Israel and Iran. I believe that it's been reported that Vladimir Putin told Iran's supreme leader that he needed to sue for peace, because if he didn't, his own government might fall. As happened last fall in Syria, Dana, Israel had weakened Hezbollah, which had propped up Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria. Syria had been a longtime client of Russia, and as rebels began to rampage across Syria, targeting Assad's power, he asked for help from Putin. And what did Putin do? Nothing. He gave him a flight to Russia, and the Assad tyranny finally fell. So once again, we shouldn't be surprised to see that Putin doesn't extend a hand to his friends in a time of need.
Can I just ask you just quickly about Syria? Kind of interesting yesterday, Syria said to Israel, like, you can use our airspace in order to attack Iran. I mean, that's quite a turnaround.
Yeah, until just last fall, it was run by a key Iranian and Russian client state. It was penetrated with Hezbollah, a terror group that had the blood of Americans and Israelis on its hands. But because of Israel's brilliant campaign against not just Hamas, but Hezbollah, because of its strikes in retaliation for Iran's attacks on Israel twice last year, it's a new day in the Middle East. And you have a Syria that is not just implacably opposed to Israel, but is standing by as Israel uses its airspace to pummel Iran's air defenses and its nuclear sites. That's, again, a tribute to Israel's strength going back for almost 2 years now, since the October 7th attacks, and especially President Trump's support for Israel since he returned to the White House this January.
Yeah, I was listening to Call Me Back today, and there was a sense among Israelis that this could not have happened under the Biden administration. Senator Cotton, thank you.
Thank you.